Welcome to another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Rady Rahban, and I am very excited about today's episode. We are honored, as many times we are, to have a patient of mine, Stacy, who's joining us to help us discuss some very key concepts in plastic surgery. One of them is the guilt associated with having cosmetic surgery when you are a mom. And the other is this really important topic and this notion of what is enough? How do I know what I should be getting, or should I be doing a bigger or more profound surgery? And the difference between, in this instance, a mini versus a full tummy tuck. Do I need it? Should I have it? And it's a really fascinating concept, and I think you're going to really enjoy the show. So welcome to the show, Stacy.
Thank you.
We're so lucky to have patients who come on the show because, as I always say, I can do the whole show by myself, but it is absolutely 1/10 as impactful as if we have the show with someone who's courageous, and I use the word courageous because they got to come on the show and they got to expose themselves. And I think it's really awesome when patients say, you know what, I can see how this could be beneficial to somebody else. So we're really grateful that you're here. You and I were just chatting about it just the other day, and that's when this topic came to mind, which was when you and I had originally met. You're 37 years old, you have two beautiful children, 3 and 4, you're in great shape, but naturally, having two children, breastfeeding them, et cetera, some things have changed. And you came to me originally for what we garden variety call a mommy makeover. In that mommy makeover was the idea of addressing the changes that occurred into your abdomen, right? And I don't remember, did you have a C-section? Two. So very common. You get a C-section, you get in shape, you're as good as you can be, and you get this, what you refer to as a shelf, right? Everyone at home who's had a C-section or whatnot, 95% of people immediately know what you're talking about. And that's sort of where the C-section adheres to the abdominal wall, and then the skin, now excess, sort of hovers over it and creates this fupa shelf, this tire look or whatever. The question then is, how the hell do I fix it? And you and I had a dialogue about it, and this is what I think was super fascinating, and I thought this would be a great topic. The question is, what is the right way to fix it? And you and I talked about it, and then the issue came up of this concept of mini versus full, a mini tummy tuck versus a full tummy tuck. So let me just start by just defining the two so that when we get into it, people will understand. Essentially, a mini tummy tuck is a surgery where theoretically the scar is a little shorter, and then we go all the way up to the belly button in the work that we do, and we don't go above the belly button, hence the mini concept. So anything that's happening north of the belly button doesn't change, and we are basically removing the redundant skin that's below the belly button. So if you have crepey skin, or in this instance, that shelf that you were referring to, that will all be addressed. What does not get addressed, number one, any redundant skin above your belly button, it will always stay there. And number two, and most importantly, any muscle separation, which we call diastasis recti, could be tiny or severe, can't be addressed through a mini because the bottom half is the only thing exposed. So the top half, which is the other half of the muscle, isn't addressed, and you don't want to just correct the bottom and then create some weird shape to your abdomen. And so you and I met, and absolutely you looked fantastic, but there was these changes, and then we started our debate and our debacle, right? And after examining you, I said, I think you need to have a full tummy tuck. And then what did you say?
Not the answer that I wanted to hear, because I'd gone on a few consultations before that. And
right.
The reason that the partial came into mind, or the mini, is because I was talking to somebody that I knew, and they'd gotten one, and they're like, I know, I had C-sections, I had this shelf. You don't have to get a full tummy tuck. You can get a partial.
Sure.
The scar is smaller, the recovery. I'm like, wow, really? Because before that, I think I just succumbed to the fact that this is my new body, and this is what I'm going to have, and I'm not willing to have a major surgery, so I'm just going to get used to this. And when she brought up that idea to me, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing. Got online, did all my research, went to a few consultations, and people were like, yeah, we can do that. No one really mentioned the full to me because I think they knew that's what I was coming in for, was the partial. And you were my last consultation, and I came in, And I told you that I wanted the partial, and you're like, and I explained to you that I'm not looking for perfect. I just want to be able to wear clothes and not see the C-section shelf. That was all that I needed. And your response to that was, but why stop there? Like, if it bothers you, why not fix all of it? And I think my response to you was, I don't need to be in a bikini. I'm 37, I have
Right.
2 kids. Like, I'm past that stage of my life.
Got it.
And your response to that was, but why? If you want that, why not go for that? So I think so that was part of it. I think it's the shame of getting the surgery to begin with. And it was, if it's a smaller surgery, I feel less guilt around that with respect to being out with my kids and not being able to pick them up for a few weeks and things like that. But I felt like you kind of caught that in this really weird way. I don't think that we weren't in there that long, and I think you could sense that it was this hesitation of, well, yeah, I probably would if it wasn't for some of these other factors. But the pain was also a big one for me. I think in my head, the fact that it's your entire stomach, I'm going to be in excruciating pain, and I was very fearful of that. So I think after talking through it with you, and then really, I think I listened to a few of your podcasts, I did a lot more research and really understanding the pain. And for me, what was great is that I did have something to compare it to. I'd had 2 C-sections.
Correct.
So to just scour all reviews of people who've had them and really understand that if you're going to have major surgery, whether it's a partial or a full, you are going to be out. It's not like any of these surgeries, you're bouncing back the next day and picking your kids up from school. So if you're going to spend the time to recover, if you're going to spend the money on the surgery, why not go for what you truly want?
Amazing. You brought up like 47 things. I wish I had a note paper. So I'm going to go ahead and address each of them. No, this is exactly what it is. So let's start out with the first one. Many times, because of the new world we live in, patients come in not with a complaint, but with a procedure. Patients come in, I'm like, how can I help you? I'm here for, I want an anchor breast lift, a lollipop lift, or I need a mini tuck. And that is absolutely the wrong approach. It's a huge downfall of our today's knowledge availability. You should absolutely know what the surgeries are, know everything about them, but you should come in and say, I'm here because I have this thing hanging here at the bottom of my belly and I hate it. What do you, Mr. or Mrs. Professional, recommend? And let them tell you why. Because now patients are coming in loaded with a procedure in their mind. They're hell set on it because there's so much information there. You were sort of lucky and unlucky that you had someone who went through it and did really well, but the problem is you don't know her previous body. You don't know her indications. Maybe she was an ideal candidate for a mini tummy tuck. And then when you come into these doctors, many of them don't want to lose you as a patient. So when you come in and you say to me, hi, Dr. Rahban, I'm here for a mini tummy tuck, and I start to sense that it's mini tummy tuck or you're walking out the door, if I am really concerned about making sure we operate on you, mini tummy tuck it is. Who am I to argue with you? At the end of the day, I'm here to do what you want. It's patient-centric. It's about the patient. Those days of paternalistic medicine where I tell you what you need, those are all over. Bullshit. I am supposed to tell you what you need. I'm the damn professional. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You got it from TikTok and a few friends. That is why you seek out lawyers. That is why you go to your accountant. That is why you speak to your investments professional for their guidance. Yes, ultimately you will make the choice, but it is incumbent on us to make sure we tell you. So that was issue number one that I noticed, because you had seen a few people and it seemed as though you were, I remember, you were pretty adamant that's what you wanted. And if I were reasonably savvy, I'd know not to argue with you. The second thing you brought up, which was really interesting, was this notion of guilt, which is many patients figure if they do let's say they want to look like this. Inside their heart of hearts, they want to look good. But there is this huge component of guilt and financial responsibility, right? That kind of mounds in together. What kind of parent am I if I am spending my son or daughter's college tuition on being bikini ready, right? And then clearly most husbands, even if they're supportive, don't get it, right? It's like, what the hell do you need? I think you're hot. And so there's this huge wad of, okay, you know what? I'm already such a bad mom. Why don't I just do something small and then it'll altogether be less of a bad thing? And that's exactly what you felt. And I've had hundreds of moms come in, and I could tell they're trying to water it down because of, not because that's what they want, but because somehow that makes this less uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The next thing you brought up was this idea that if I, for example, had a mini, I'd be down for the count less. Therefore, I'd be less of a bad mom, and I could get back to work, and I could show my husband it was no big deal. And frankly, you know, I won't compromise my child's well-being. And the truth of the matter is, that's a lie. Yeah. Because mini or not, what's the downtime? 6 weeks. It doesn't matter if you come and get your C-section revised. There is a scar, there are tissue planes, there's healing, there's all the same elements, and therefore it's the same recovery, which is you can't go to kickboxing for a while, you gotta take it easy. It's the idea of like, once I'm making borscht, if I make a small pot of it or a large part of it, it's all the same mechanics. It's just chopping a few more carrots and a few more beets, but at the end of the day, it really isn't twice the amount of work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And the last, and by far, the most important thing that you said, which is why we're basically even having this conversation, is this notion, well, I'll be okay with if I look okay in clothes. Why? It's good enough. Good enough? Why would we shoot for a B+? Like, why would that be our trajectory? Why would we go into such a surgery that you could afford? Forget about cost. Let's just leave costs out of this for a moment. Yeah. Frankly, in my humble opinion, if you can't do the surgery you need to do because you can't afford it, do no surgery. Yeah. Like, hey doc, I need a lobotomy. It's how much? Okay, fine, forget it. I'll just take half of it out. Well, what do you mean? It's either the surgery or not the surgery. So, frankly, you should never have finances come in because yes, it's costly, and if you can't afford it, go save and come back and do the right surgery. But there was this notion that you had brought up, which is, I don't need to look like a supermodel. No one said that you need to look like a supermodel. But if you had the potential, without doing anything crazy, and I'm not referring to like, well, we need to do fat transfer, then we need to do this, and then we need to take your ear. I'm talking about a garden variety procedure that's available to you. You yourself are telling yourself, let's tone it down because I don't need more than that. And it was so obvious to me that you're beautiful, you're tall. I know that it's just readily available to you. And I felt that we needed to push you on, why not? Yeah. And so take me through that process of where I'm sort of like putting the mirror back and being like, okay, I get it. If we did all this and you were in swimsuit, awesome, ready, no problem, you would have been fine. It's better than what you were. But why are we out of the gates? Why am I going to study for the exam and be like, I'm going to get a B+? Yeah. Like, why? Like, why not study to get an A? And if I got a B+, well, that's pretty good too.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest issue that I had was that C-section shelf. And so if I just focused on that, it felt like I was trying to go a little acceptable and back to baseline in a way, that was the one thing that really bothered me. That I think at that point I was 2 years postpartum of my second. It was very clear it was not going away. Sure. Exercise was not going to fix this.
Absolutely
It was there for good. And I spent so much time grappling with myself of what I consider surgery. And that was a really tough thing. And now looking back, I wish I had sped it up, because now on the other side of it, I'm like, this is amazing. I wish I had this years ago. But by the time that I started considering it and I grasped onto this idea of the partial, in my head, I'm just fixing what the C-section caused. Got it. I'm just reversing. I'm not doing cosmetic surgery. I'm fixing.
This is reconstructive. Therefore, it's acceptable, reasonable, and totally makes sense. And any more than that would be cosmetic. It would be a reckless use of money, putting myself at risk for no reason, increasing my downtime for no reason. Well, frankly, more pain, which was completely a lie, and so on and so forth. So absolutely, you partitioned it incredibly well. But now I'm holding the mirror, I'm in the consult, and I tell you, that's not accurate. Yeah. At what point did you like, damn, he's right. Okay, because you went ahead and did the full, and we're going to talk about that in a minute after the break. But what was did you end up sitting with it? Did you talk to your husband? Did you talk to other patients? What was that moment? Because you were pretty sure that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I think in a very appropriate way. You kind of called me on my bullshit. Hopefully I can say
No,
bullshit.
you can say bullshit. I say
you
bullshit
called me
all
on
the
my
time.
bullshit. It was, but why, is that really what you want? And the answer was no. I want to look amazing. I would love to wear a bikini, but I'm feeling guilt about it. I think it was the first time that somebody kind of said, why? All these other consultations, sure, whatever you want. I had my husband saying, you look beautiful, you don't need it. And I was grappling internally with, I shouldn't want this, I shouldn't need this, but if I'm gonna get to this point, you nailed it. But if you're gonna have surgery, why not shoot for the bikini? Why just be okay wearing yoga pants and not having it show?
Exactly. I love it. Okay, perfect segue. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to actually talk about what the hell. Why are you on the show? You're on the show because you chose, in my humble opinion, to do the right thing. And as a result of that right thing, your life is that much better that you're like, God, I would have hated to have not done it. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll dive into the new you and the high quality life that you deserved. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. All right, welcome back to the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. And we're here with Stacy, who is taking us through her journey, which is a journey that many patients go through, and particular moms, because there's a very, very strong mom guilt associated with this particular procedure, which is the reversal of the damages created by childbirth. And I'm just so excited because you're such a perfect example of this condition, and through your rendition of your experience, I'm hoping that other people sitting at home are like, oh my God, this ding, 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 this is it. So the hell with it, you did it, right? So here you are obviously at my office and not some other office with some yoga pants. And you went ahead, we did the full mommy makeover, everything went great. Let's start with that fear of, let's start with each of the things that you were afraid of. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Oh my God, you had a full tummy tuck? You must be in excruciating pain. You must have been in excruciating pain for weeks. Okay, tell me how the pain was.
I would not actually say that I had pain.
Okay, but I want you to hear that because it sounds, if you said I was in excruciating pain, everybody would listen carefully.
Yeah.
When you say you're not in pain, you're like, yeah, they probably pre-orchestrated this.
No.
I didn't tell you to do anything. If you were in pain, nobody would argue otherwise because that's what they expect. So say it again. You were not in what?
I was not in pain. I had discomfort. I did not have pain. I think my fear was this uncontrollable, the second you wake up from surgery, daggers in your abdomen, uncontrollable. And even when I barely did my pain meds, I think, it was discomfort that was controllable. So very similar for me for the C-section. When you're sitting in bed and you're comfortable, you don't feel a thing. It's when you try to get out of bed a little bit and you move, you're like, oh, that's a little bit uncomfortable.
It burns.
Yes.
It's tight.
Yes.
It feels like you've done, 500 crunches. You're sore. It's not, as you said, dagger-like agony pain. And I'm not to suggest that no one has that pain. I would say the overwhelming majority of patients experience it as you do. But you could have dagger-type pain, very unlikely. And how long was the discomfort anyways?
Maybe 4 days.
Correct. At most, it's 5 to 6 days.
Yeah.
So let's take the worst case scenario. You are that 10%, 15% of dagger abdomen pain, which again, we just don't have, but nonetheless, it's gone in a week. So that took care of one of your big, and by the way, your fear of pain from an abdominoplasty is echoed by every single patient because the word on the street amongst old school patients, people who had it before, and patients having it now is, it's going to be worth it, honey, but you're going to have to go through the fire, right? Correct? I don't know what the hell other people are doing. I don't know why people are in so much pain. I don't know why people are in so much pain for so long. It's not only I had dagger pain, it's I have dagger pain and it's like been 2 months and I'm still in pain, let alone barely any pain, discomfort, and it's gone in a week. So that took care of the whole pain worry you had. Because had you had the pain, you still would have been like, well, it was worth it, but you didn't have the pain. Let's get to the recovery part. We tell you that whether you have a mini or a full, you got to kind of chill for 2 weeks. You can't be like, all right, guys, I'm ready to take you to soccer camp. It's just not going to happen. And then we tell you from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, you can go back to work. You can go pick up your kids from school. You just can't go to Yosemite and go hike Half Dome. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter what you have. So tell me about that 6 weeks where you had to just, it was inconvenient. So tell me about it.
It was torture because I felt fine. So I wanted to do so much more than I was allowed to do. I'd say about at a week, I felt pretty much, I had to wear the binder and all of that. So your mobility was limited, but I felt fine. I felt like I could go back to everything. So that was
So the torture
difficult.
was not so much that it was destroying your life. It was that
No.
you felt well enough that the idea of taking it easy seemed somewhat silly because you felt you could do more. And the reason why I am so strict on my recovery, so strict, I can tell you that no one else is as strict as me when it comes to wearing the garments, not exercising, is because you have a small window, that is 6 weeks, to allow the work that I did to, if you will, for all intents and purposes, scarify in together and create a rigid construct such that at 6 weeks I told you to go do what? What did I tell you you could do?
At 6 weeks, I could go back to exercising.
What could I,
Nothing. 6 weeks, it was back to everything.
Anything.
Okay.
When I say anything, I mean
Yes.
6 weeks out, you're like, okay, Dr. Rahban, I can't take it anymore. Great, perfect timing. Take the binder off, go to Half Dome. What do you mean go to Half Dome? Jump out of an airplane, sign up for Krav Maga, do jiu-jitsu. I don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah.
Now you can literally get punched in the stomach, I don't care. That is why I do what I do. If you go and go follow other people, they get started early, it never gets better, they're constantly in discomfort, they're all hunched over still, they're tight in the abdomen, all that nonsense. You were ready at 1 week, I forced you at 6 weeks, and when I say hit the ground running, and how is, so now you're a year and 15 months, you're 15 months out. So let's talk about that recovery, because there's also this notion that, I did a tummy tuck, so I'm gonna look great in a bikini, but let's be honest, I'm not gonna be doing yoga or Pilates. And?
Do Pilates. I did Pilates yesterday. I went back to what I did before. It was definitely, I did a lot of weightlifting, and that I think was more mental getting back into it. My body was different. It felt different. I also had a breast augmentation, so doing things, there's now something there. But eased back into that, I now fully am where I was 15 months, or I guess pre-surgery, and then also yoga was interestingly Pilates was something that I started before I was pregnant and did through my first pregnancy, and then after my first C-section, never went back to because I never had that core strength.
100%.
So now that is icing on top for me because that's now something that I've worked back into and now can do again that I couldn't do pre-surgery.
Yeah. So by the way, if you had done a mini, which has been absolutely fine, you'd never have the strength that you have. Your little muffin top thing will be gone. The upper abdomen would never look like it does. And by no means would you as flat and as strong your core is. So funny enough, for those individuals who are utilizing this is reconstructive and this is cosmetic argument, which I think is nonsense because you deserve the cosmetic component, repairing your core is reconstructive. Your core wasn't that shot before. So that's great. So, and then the key component here is none of this stuff matters. The only thing that matters is the way you feel about yourself. You get up in the morning, you walk into the bathroom, you get undressed, and you're gonna go take a shower, and you look at yourself, and that is the reason why why I said to you, why would you be just okay with looking okay in clothes? Why not get up in the morning if you had the possibility to look at yourself and be like, wow, I look damn great. This looks awesome. So tell me where you are now, that far forward, and literally what you told me the other day and prompted this whole podcast, which is I'm so grateful that you kind of, as you said, called me out on my bullshit because now I'm the beneficiary. So tell me about that emotional component of how you feel, because really at the end of the day, that's what all this is about.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I had a very full circle moment with where I was, but I remember I went with my husband away for the first time away from the kids to Mexico before surgery, and I was wearing my one piece and I still felt like it was there. And I had that moment of like, I feel like crap. Like, I don't like this. And then soon after that is when I started having all the consultations. We actually went back to the same hotel with our kids over the holidays, and I was rocking a bikini.
Yeah.
And I felt amazing. And I think now I've been through this process of the shame and the guilt and working through it, and I feel amazing. And that rubs off on everyone around me.
100%.
I'm not sitting there stressing about what I look like and worrying about that and feeling down. I'm having an amazing time and feeling great about myself. Kids aside, it doesn't matter. Like, just me, I feel amazing. And I hadn't felt that way pre-children.
And you said it best, it rubs off. There is a ripple effect beyond your imagination, because the way you interact with your life partner, that intimate person in your life, is 100% predicated on the way you see yourself, not how they see them. They could think you're the hottest thing since sliced bread, and if you're like, but my labia, then it doesn't matter what they tell you, you will be self-conscious. And that's not you, that's every human being. So I'm assuming that your intimate relationship has
much better,
right? And that's for all the people listening who are like, but you look beautiful, honey. I love you. You don't need to do this. This was never about, I'm so sorry. This was never about you.
Yeah.
like you could tell me I'm hot till the cows come home, but let's be honest, I got a gut.
Yeah.
And you are just not seeing what I'm seeing or whatever the hell it is. But there's this belly here and I need it gone. And so that's actually the part that excites me the most, is that uptick in intimacy. Because we do this for not, oh wow, look at that photo of you on Instagram, that static moment of you. We do it for the higher quality of life. And the higher quality of life is those intimate moments, the sharing of intimacy, the feeling sexy, the going to a Vegas and going to a trip that emulates from that. The other part is your interaction with your kids. Have you noticed any sort of change in, some people feel like they have a better relationship with their kids, which they never thought they could, because at the end of the day, when your body looks frumpy, and it's your kids, now you kind of don't have any of that sort of deep, not guilt. Guilt's not the right word.
You're saying I blame them?
Well, I've had parents, I have not gone through this process. I've had moms say that I look at my kids with a lighter feel. I don't know what that meant. And I was just curious to see if that's something you experienced. You might not have, but there was this, not that they blame their kids.
Yeah.
But it's like, you little rugrats.
Yeah. Well, I feel like myself again, which I feel like you kind of succumb to this. I'm a mom. This is a new chapter in my life. Everything's going to change. And I think me feeling like I'm back physically, and I've worked hard. Like, I've still worked hard after kids and I couldn't get back. And so now that I feel like I'm back, it's just this refreshed look on everything, because I feel like I'm not just stuck in momhood.
Yeah. Well, this is great, because there's this notion that you need to be a mom and you got to forget about that past life.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be attractive, sexy, wear heels, look in that dress, and then be a mom. That those two are conflictual.
Yeah.
And that couldn't be farthest from the truth. Saturday night, kids are asleep with the nanny, whatever, you want to be super hot, that part of your life still exists. And that's why when you had said that to me, I said at 37 to throw in the towel to, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough is not a word I understand. And so I am really happy that you allowed us to force you and trusted us in that process. And it makes me so excited that you're that much better as a result of our journey together.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I think this was such a great episode, because I love the emotional toils of doing plastic surgery. And I think this was a very helpful dialogue for many people struggling with this concept at home. So thank you for exposing yourself. I know initially you were like, hell no. And then you're like, you know what? I really want to help somebody.
I do.
Because I know that it helped me. So we're grateful. We wish you continued success on your journey. This is just the beginning. You're only at 15 months. I guarantee you, if you continue working out, you're going to get to a level of strength and fitness that you never knew you could. There's something to be said for having that internal, if you will, corset. So sky's the limit. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up this super fascinating episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. You know my exiting request. Number one is, if you enjoy the show, you love the show, go write something nice. Go write us a review. Number one, it makes us all feel good. Number two, it increases our visibility on the platforms, and it means a lot to us. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. And then forward this, pass this on to friends and family. Look, you don't know who wants to do what in the secrecy of their home. And then if only they had gotten this information, then so-and-so, let's not be that. So go ahead and spread the message, get our podcast out to as many people you know, and tune in next week. I'm sure whatever we're talking about will be just as interesting. All right, signing off, I'm your host, Dr. Rahban, Plastic Surgery Uncensored.